So good morning to all of you. Welcome to the monthly meeting of August 2020. And today must be an important day because we're having the event of giving away the M. Krishnan Memorial Award for Nature Writing. Now, for those of you who are not in Chennai, it's a lovely day here. We've been having rains, and which is also very nice. And I think this year the migrants should be getting in a lot earlier. We've already seen a lot of blue-tailed bee-eaters. Yeah, so that's a good sign. So I do not know whether they are the harbingers of the remaining migrant flocks to come to Chennai, but that's how it is. And so I will now request Mr. Sudhakar, our President, for the opening remarks.
Good morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this M. Krishnan Memorial Nature Writing Award, which has been going on for almost 7 years now. This has been a wonderful opportunity for the Madras Naturalist Society to remember M. Krishnan, outstanding photographer, writer, naturalist, historian, and several other capacities in which he shone. This M. Krishnan Nature Writing Award for the young people have been going on for, say, about 7 years. And the Madras Natural Society is very proud that we are encouraging young people to write about nature. In these days, when the social media, I'm not complaining about the social media, the Facebook or Instagram and other such things, but the emphasis has been photographing and passing on the pictures to others. The old days, a naturalist had to make use of his writing to paint the picture of nature, the birds, the animals, in which Mr. M. Krishnan excelled. So we wish to bring back that kind of writing back to vogue, make it popular. And I'm very happy to say that Karthika, who has won this year's award, has done wonderfully well in painting a word picture of this subject that has been given to her. This has been our Nature Writing Awards have been going on for almost 7 years now. Usually we used to have a good meeting at a venue, nice meeting. And as somebody was saying that with the Corona, we had to resort to this kind of meeting. But at least we are happy that we are able to beat Karthika in this Zoom meeting and congratulate her, and then have this nice get together for the MNS members and others who are interested in these kind of endeavors. Going through the article that she has written, struck a chord in me in that when we first started watching birds, when we used to go to these places, especially wildlife places in the Western Ghats, we used to hear this, I learned this phrase called the mixed hunting parties of birds. It was a wonderful experience when you enter a patch of dense shola to hear the grackles, the racket-tailed drongos, and all the other birds calling. There used to be a host of birds in these mixed hunting flocks or the mixed hunting parties, which Salim Ali used to mention, that used to get us excited just looking at the phrase. because there was a plethora of birds, and you actually didn't know where to look. A small group of people, you will be looking at one, and other people will be, oh, they will say, oh, this has come, that has come. So it was such an exciting thing. And the winner of this year's award has brought that same feeling to her writing. Going through that, I actually lived through the old days, looking at my first sighting of the mixed hunting flock of birds.
Yeah.
And then another thing which was very striking was that one of my most favorite birds is the paradise flycatcher. She has, I think, mentioned the paradise flycatcher in her opening sentences, which was amazing. I don't want to take up much time, but one of the best experiences or the best word pictures of the paradise flycatcher written by anybody is Hugh Whistler, whose wonderful work called Popular Book of Indian Birds, published I think in the 1940s after his death, was wonderful. I would like to quote from Hugh Whistler, if you give me a couple of minutes. It says, the paradise flycatcher has been aptly named. If paradise is the home of perfection, there indeed must this bird find a place. In nature, its beauty is enhanced by its surroundings. And he goes on to explain the place where it resides. And he says, the long streamers give a curious effect to the flight. The bird appears to float softly along without particular volition or ability to direct its course, moving in a series of dreamy impulses, though the younger birds with short tails show themselves possessed of strong and decided flight. If paradise is the home of perfection, there indeed must this bird find a place. In nature, its beauty is enhanced by its surroundings, for it is a bird of pleasant groves and well-watered shady nullahs, where stray gleams of sunshine strike through the boughs, bringing to color sprays of foliage and illuminating patches of the ground and throwing them into relief by contrast with mysterious shadows. So this is an amazing thing which I remember when I read her note on the paradise flycatcher in her essay. So with that, I would like everybody to this Nature Writing Award function, and I am sure that we will be attracting more and more excellent naturalists to write their nature writings in the future. Thank you. Over to Vijay.
Thank you very much. That reminiscences was exhilarating to hear, and to note that you had M. Krishnan to point it out to you must have been a great experience by itself. Yes, I now request Mrs. Tara Gandhi to speak about the M. Krishnan Memorial Award for Nature Writing.
Yeah. So, thank you very much, Vijay. Very warm welcome to everybody who has joined today. It's really a pleasure to be part of this award function. Normally, we would have all been together in a nice hall somewhere. We'd have all been talking to each other, and we'd have all been having some chai and samosas as well, which we all are missing out this time. But we have to adapt. Now we're beginning to realize more and more how much humans and wildlife have to adapt. There's going to be climate change. There's going to be different circumstances that we have to face throughout our lives. And this particular pandemic has really brought it to focus how vulnerable life is. So all the more reason to celebrate people who have documented nature like M. Krishnan, and the younger people who are now getting interested in conservation and in making note of what is around us, which is so really important. So this award, firstly to congratulate Karthika for her excellent essay, which has deserved the award very well. It's been in the memory of M. Krishnan, and as Mr. Sudhakar already told us, he was a absolutely charismatic personality, as well as an iconic figure for Indian conservation, as he was a outstanding wildlife expert in India, and a brilliant photographer in black and white, using a camera which he himself had fabricated. And there are stories just to find the exact angle, to find the exact moment for capturing, like a tiger licking its paw, or doing something that is extraordinary. Those days, you can imagine, when there was no digital cameras, he took the pictures and he used to develop them himself in his home, where he had created a dark room. So he was such an exceptional person. Apart from that, he was also an artist, and he would sketch the animals that he drew, that he saw, apart from photographing them. And there are wonderful collections of his artwork as well. He also used to do carpentry, he used to do carving. I mean, what an amazing person to have a multifaceted personality. And most importantly, he was a writer. And as Mr. Sudhakar said, he used to paint word pictures. And so he used to capture the imagination of the writers, of his readers, both in Tamil and in English. And this quality is very rare to find. And right now, as we are in the 2020 and in the century that we are in now, photography has become very popular, and people are taking the most extraordinary and amazing photographs with very sophisticated equipment. But writing is a skill which cannot be helped by technology. It has to come from your own brain, has to come from your own heart. And so in order to encourage young people to be able to express themselves through words, through beautiful words, through interesting words, and through, very importantly, scientific accuracy. This is what Krishnan stood for as well, that scientific accuracy combined with excellent writing, turn of phrase, and a bit of humor as well, for instance. Now, that is why MNS instituted this award, so that young people would be inspired by him, not copy him. We don't want anybody to do any kind of cut and paste job or copying, but inspired by the spirit, to be inspired by the glory of nature, to be inspired by the wonder of it all, and to be able to express all that in words, which is difficult, but at the same time a lovely thing to be able to do. So this is what the M. Krishnan Nature Writing Award is all about. And we have been very pleased that there's been a good response over the years. And young people from all walks of life, not necessarily biologists, not necessarily scientists, but people from even, IT professionals, students, other kind of people who take from other jobs, have all written in, and they have been awarded. So it's good to know that nature is taking a place in people's minds and hearts, young people's minds and hearts, and they are able to write about it and join our award, project, which I'm very happy about. So I'll end by congratulating Karthika once again. We are really happy that she has written about her experiences, and we also look forward to seeing her presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nara. Well, those words were very stirring. Huh? Writing cannot be aided by technology, and it has to come from your heart. As a published author, I'm very sure you actually live those words, which is very true. Thank you very, very much. And so I think we're all waiting to meet Karthika. In her own words, Karthika says, being an ardent lover of animals since my childhood, I decided to pursue my interest in learning more about the unexplored wildlife that is around us. Well, Karthika rings very true, considering what you actually have done all these years. Karthika is currently a PhD scholar at the PG and Research Department of Zoology, which is at the Farouk College, which is actually in Farouk, the part of the University of Calicut in Kozhikode. And she is doing this with a doctoral fellowship from the Kerala State Biodiversity Board. She's actually working on understanding how bird communities, specifically mixed species flocks, are influenced by the changes, alteration, natural habitats, and how their mixed flocking structure, composition, and behavior varies between natural forest habitat and selected human-modified landscapes like coffee, cardamom, and tea plantations. Her place of work is in Wayanad, very, very lovely place. So that is the distinction between what Sudhakar saw and what actually Karthika is working on. Karthika is working on comparing the two, the actual wildlife habitat and what these habitats have been converted to because of man's greed or need or whatever. This is actually a continuation of the work that she had done for her MSc, which she did, and incidentally, people who are interested of. She did a Master's in Wildlife Studies from Center for Wildlife Studies, College of Veterinary and Animal Sciences in Pukot, and Pukot is in Wayanad, Kerala, and before that she did a Bachelor's in Zoology from Kannur itself, where she is right now, and that is where she hails from. She lives with her mother. She has 3 sisters, who 2 of them are in Dubai. I think they're all here, and one is lives in Singapore. Her thesis, a comparative study on mixed species bird flocks in a forest and coffee habitat in Wayanad, Kerala, which is part of her MSc dissertation, was published in Indian Birds Journal in October 2018. Now, after that, she worked on a temporary basis with the Kerala Forest Research Institute in Pichi, Thrissur, and actually contributed in an edited book titled Documentation, Evaluation and Conservation of Biodiversity. So we are actually in having Karthika and who's an ardent wildlife person, and very, very happy that she has won this year's award. The award consists of a citation, a certificate, and a check for rupees 10,000. Now, I'll read out the citation which has been prepared for Karthika, and I will show it to you after that. M. Krishnan Memorial Award for Nature Writing 2020. Citation. Writer, naturalist, nature photographer, field biologist, M. Krishnan could make nature's bounty come alive through his writings. At heart, Karthika Chandran, in her essay titled Following the Beautiful Bonds in Nature, passionately argues that the behavioral phenomenon of mixed species flocks is one of the best examples of friendships in nature, which incidentally was one of the best examples of friendships in nature, and that it is nature's incredible showpiece. For ardently exemplifying through field observations this intricate friendship and mutuality. For secondly, contrasting this with man's selfish nature, and for making a fervent plea to learn from the birds and live harmoniously, Ms. Karthika Chandran deservedly wins the M. Krishnan Memorial Award for Nature Writing for the year 2020, given this 9th day of August 2020, signed K.V. Sudhakar, President, T. Vijay Kumar, Secretary, Madras Naturalist Society, Chennai. And this is the citation. There's somebody's mic on. Can you please switch off? Yeah. This is the certificate that is given. So you will see her name, winner Karthika Chandran and Kannur. And this is the 10,000 rupees check, duly signed, to be handed over to, which will be sent to her. So congratulations, Karthika Chandran, and we now call on you to give us your presentation on following the beautiful bonds in nature.
Thank you so much, sir. Am I audible right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sudhakar sir, Vijay sir, and Tara ma'am for your kind words. Very good morning, everyone. I feel very honored to have won this award, and I'm really, really grateful to the society members and jury who have selected this essay of mine for this prestigious award. To be honest, I've never ever considered myself as a writer and anything of that sort. And the main reason why I actually applied for this competition was because of this year's theme in particular. Because this bird behavior of mixed species flocks that I'm currently working on, as Sudhakar sir first said, when I first came to know about them and started observing them in the field, that's before being all scientific about it, I considered them just as a group of friends hanging out with each other for their snack time or during the free time. And also, me being the kind of person who values her friendships the most, this particular theme was definitely what caught my interest, and that's why I decided to give it a shot. And I'm really glad that it ended up quite well. So I think without further delay, I'll start off with my presentation. I hope the slides are visible to everyone.
Yeah, it's come on.
Is it come on? Okay.
Okay.
So I have to thank especially Mr. Vijay Kumar sir, the Honorable Secretary of Madras Naturalist Society, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk today. So, okay, start. So, following the beautiful bonds in nature. So, this was what I meant is that the beautiful interactions between different, like literally follow these birds in order to learn more about it. So this term mixed species flocks may not be familiar to all, but I'm sure everyone must have come across them more than twice because it's a very common behavior that is seen among birds, which you can see just outside of your houses also. So by definition and in the simplest forms, mixed species flocks are nothing but roving or wandering groups of at least two species foraging together. That is, if you find, for example, if you find 2 or 3 different birds who are actively searching for food in a particular area and they're moving about along with each other from place to place, that is called a mixed species flock. And since these groups are mainly concerned with feeding purposes, they're termed as foraging flocks, mixed species foraging flocks, or mixed hunting parties, and so on. So these flocks vary in size, permanence, and strength of association. So one day if you find 2 mynas and a drongo and a woodpecker foraging in your garden, it doesn't mean that in the later part of the day or maybe the next day that you can, it's not necessary that the mynas will be foraging with the same people. So and so the species participating in mixed species flocks and the number of individuals participating and the behavior they show, everything keeps on changing from flock to flock. So nothing about mixed species flocks is, it's never constant. So this is actually how a mixed species flock would look like in the field. So this is a beautiful illustration by Mr. Rangunarayanan. He has carefully represented all these species by their respective characteristic behavior and have represented them in their own foraging levels. So anybody who is familiar with birding would be able to identify all these species in this picture. So there are about 11 to 12 different species, and the question is, why do these many different kind of birds come and feed together? What are their reasons? So first, by definition, is for feeding purposes. That is, to obtain food, more food easily within a group. Then second is, however, for safety reasons. Generally, even for us, we feel more protected, or we feel safer when we are in a group rather than we are alone. So the same way, the birds, in order to obtain more protection from predators, they are said to form and join mixed species flocks. So if you look at this picture, the bird that I've marked now, it is completely different from the rest of the other birds in this picture in being a bird of prey. It's a small raptor species. It could probably be a shikra. So this doesn't mean that the shikra also forages along with the birds. It is just to indicate that the role of predation or the presence of predators is also an important driving force behind this mixed flocking behavior. So the two major hypotheses which have been put forward to explain why birds form and join such mixed species associations is for increased foraging efficiency and for reduced risk of predation. So let us see how they obtain these benefits. So within a mixed species flock, I said all these birds are moving about looking for food. So when these birds move about between these bushes of leaf litter and foliages, their movement is actually disturbing the insects in that area, and those insects are being flushed out. And these flushed out insects are caught by the other members within the flock. So this is a very common thing that you can see while observing mixed species flocks, and this particular kind of behavior is particularly beneficial for certain kinds of species, like the drongos or the sallying and the fly-catching species like flycatchers and drongos. And these birds, what they do is that they catch insects. They follow all the actively foraging or the successful group foraging birds like these seven sisters or the oriental white eyes, the flower pickers and so on. So they capture insects which are flushed out by the disturbance of their other birds' movements. Next, just like how a group of people have different sets of skills and abilities, among these birds, there are some who are much more efficient in finding food than the others. There are some who are more successful in getting foraging benefits. There are some who are much more better in scanning for predators. So in a whole, mixed species flocks is actually means by which birds monitor the activities of other members, and so that they can learn more, they can learn where the food is located from them more easily. And they can also make use of the foraging techniques and skills of other birds to their own benefit. So by participating in mixed species flocks, these individual birds can actually save their time and energy by not feeding in those areas which have already been fed by certain other birds. So it is only logical to do so. So this way they can use their time to completely find a new resource patch and look for food there. And these are some of the ways that birds enhance their foraging efficiency within a mixed species flock. Now moving on to the anti-predation benefits. So there are a few theories which explain these. One is a many eyes theory. So just as the name suggests, many eyes see better than one. That is, so this basically tells us about safety in numbers. That like, for example, if you find generally a solitarily feeding bird species like a barbet or any kind of flycatcher, their chance of being attacked in a mixed species flock would be much lesser when they are actually found foraging alone. Okay. Also within a group, there are certain birds who are more vigilant and who are more efficient in scanning for predators around. So it is the skills of these birds that benefit the rest of the flock members in terms of protection. Next is selfish herd effect. So this is a very interesting theory. Okay. I hope I'm audible.
You are audible. Please go on.
Okay, thanks, sir. Okay, so even though we say mixed species flocks are mostly friendly interactions and everything, we must know that each animal, they behave in a particular way for their own benefit. That is, no animal would do anything purposely or voluntarily for the good of the others unless it is a parent offering food for its offspring, or unless they're altruistic. Everything that they do is for their own survival. So if you take the case of a mixed species flock or any animal group for that matter, what these individuals do is that they make use of the presence of other members within the flock as a shield to protect themselves from the attack of a predator. So within a flock, all these birds will be trying to place themselves one behind the another so that they are not picked out. So when such things happen, there is usually a strong competition for the central position of a group which is the most safest because the predators usually attack from the periphery of the group. And usually within a mixed species flock, the central position is occupied by the most important species or the most socially dominant species like the nuclear species or the leader species. Next is the confusion effect. So actually it is quite easier observing them in the field. You know, for a bird lover, it is going to be extremely exciting to see all these different kinds of birds moving about here and there and making different kinds of sounds, and you get first and last. And it's actually chaotic, like beautifully chaotic, if I must. In such a group of, mostly similar looking species, it causes a confusing and disorienting effect in the eyes in one single prey from this fast-moving and very noisy flock. So these are some of the many theories actually which attempts to explain how individuals obtain protection from predators within animal groups in general, and the same theories can be well applied to understand how individual birds obtain these benefits out of flocking as well. So all the ecological things that I've said is just summed up in this one cartoon by a very famous cartoonist, Mr. Rohan Chakravarti. So he has shown why some tropical birds hang around in mixed species flocks. So the first one he's saying is that there's always a sentry looking out for predators. So you can see a ractyl rongo alerting the other members that there's a predator flying by. So I'll be talking about the rongos in some time. Then next is ease in locating food sources. Then about live jamming every day. So bird calls and vocalizations, they play a very important role in the initiation and formation of flocks. For example, if a bird arrives at a new place and starts foraging, they might call in the due process, and that would actually signal the rest of the other birds around the area, and the other birds can decide to whether join the particular bird depending on the benefits that they would get out of it. Next is about experiencing new cultures. As I said, the birds are continuously monitoring the activities of each other, and they can make use of the successful foraging techniques and the foraging skills of other birds to their own benefit. And lastly, the costs are split equally. So all birds that participate in mixed species flocks, they actually stand to get some or the other kind of benefits, be it in the form of more food, and for some it must be in the form of protection from predators. Now, another major aspect of mixed species flocks is the participants. That is, these interactions could be between entirely different species, or it could be between individuals of the same species. There are both positive as well as negative kind of interactions. That is, we say that they're mostly mutualistic. I mean, mixed species flocks are generally mutualistic interaction network, but there are some cost benefit trade-offs for certain species that participate in flocks. So if you take a look at this picture, you can find two woodpeckers, Rufous woodpeckers to be specific. They're pecking, or you can see them pecking on the bark of the tree, and there is this ragtail rongo who is being quite harmless for a change in this case by just swooping and getting the insects which are falling out of the bark. So this is a kind of positive interaction. Why? Because you can see that none of them are being harmed. Both of them are actually minding their own business, foraging in their own characteristic behavior. So what the Drongo here actually is doing is that they're making use of the foraging technique, that's the bark drilling foraging technique of the woodpeckers to obtain food. So similarly, all the other birds, they try to make use of the techniques that are used by other species to obtain food within a flock. Now about alarm calls. So I've said role of predation plays an important role in flocking behavior. So vocalizations, especially alarm calling, is a crucial means by which birds obtain protection from predators within a flock. So this is a ragtail rongo. I'm pretty sure everyone must have seen this bird. It's a very, very popular bird among the birds as well as bird lovers. It is because of their highly vibrant vocalization patterns, and even in some areas locally, they are known as the policemen of the bird kingdom, because they are very, very vigilant and very reliable sentinel or sentry species. They give warning signals whenever they sense any kind of danger or a predator lurking by. So because of these characteristics, there are different birds who tend to join flocks which have ragtail rongos in them. So so this is actually an added bonus to the birds in the flock, because they can concentrate more on feeding rather than scanning for predators, because for that duty we have the rongos or any alarm calling species for that matter. Now about chasing away or direct attacks. These are all negative kinds of interactions that you can see within a flock. So again, I'm going to talk about this group of birds called rongos. They have always stood out among the other birds because of their very courageous nature. That is, even in this picture, you can see they're well known to mob birds which are twice or thrice the size of their body. You can see one pestering the very large raptor crested serpent eagle. So this is how aggressive and brave they could be at times. And these two pictures why I've put is that during my field work, I've found that the bronze strongo to be quite more aggressive within flocks than even the ragtail rongos. And around in 4 to 5 instances, I've found that the bronze rongos kept chasing away the chloropsis whenever it came closer towards it. So this is just one example. You can find a lot of birds fighting. I mean, sometimes I've found bulbuls chasing away orioles. The ragtail rongos are chased away by woodpeckers at times. So all these happens mainly because of conflicts of interest. Maybe because these species had similar preferences for the same kinds of resources. So when they fight, the other one, the chased ones, are just forced to move on to another area within the same flock itself. So that is a kind of a negative interaction for certain species involved. Again, another thing about ragtail rongo, they are popular very much in terms of their incredible talent of vocal mimicry. Okay. I think they are known to mimic almost all species in the animal kingdom, and sometimes they even mimic the inanimate sounds like the reverse tune of a vehicle. So These birds, most of the time, they do give reliable alarm calls, but at times they decide to be mischievous and give out alarm calls even when there is no actual danger. So that is why it is called false alarm calls. So when they do such things, the other poor or innocent birds within the flock, they actually think that there is a predator or a danger, and they get scared and they leave the prey and fly away. So it is at this time that the rat-tailed drongos go and snatch the prey from it. So it is kind of stealing prey from the other birds who have put in a lot more effort and who have worked harder to, look for a new resource patch, find for food, and finally get it. So this is called the kleptoparasitic behavior. So why do rat-tailed drongos do it? We're not sure. Maybe because they are lazy, or maybe because they don't want to spend so much energy when they can easily get food from the others by fooling them. So even though they intimidate and bully the other birds in certain ways like this, you can find that there are many birds who still associate with the rat-tailed drongos within mixed flocks. So the probable reason for this could be because the benefits they get out of rat-tailed drongos in the terms of protection from predators would be much higher than the cost they have to suffer in terms of food sharing or food stealing. So this actually says rat-tailed drongos are very important members of mixed species flocks in the tropical forests. So I've just I hope you can listen to this audio clip. It's a call of a crested serpent eagle. I'll play it once again. Okay, so that is the call of a crested serpent eagle. Now I'll make you listen to this. I hope it was audible, and I'm pretty sure everybody would have noticed some kind of similarity between both the calls. So there are actually many, if you search on the internet, you could get more videos and audios to show how perfect the rat-tailed drongo vocal mimicry are. And I put this especially because this was a personal observation. This was a video I took during my initial birding days at college. So me and my friend, we were really excited to keep listening to the call, and we thought there was a crested serpent eagle perching nearby. We searched and searched. We waited for, I think, maybe more than half an hour, and finally we found that it was a rat-tailed drongo trying to mimic this serpent eagle. So it is all these, very interesting interactions and behaviors that makes it so enjoyable to watch and observe mixed species flocks in the field. So coming to the factors influencing flocking, we have habitat, weather, season, vegetation, and everything. So a mixed species flock found in an evergreen forest would never be the same. I mean, it'll be completely different from the flocks that you find in a deciduous forest or in a plantation or around your houses. So the species participating will be different. The flock size, the number of individuals participating will be different. The way they behave will also be different according to the habitat and vegetation. So there is the seasonal difference also, which influences species composition within a flock. That is, during the migratory period, we'll have more, the flocks will be composed of more migratory birds like the warblers or flycatchers, and they would definitely not be present in the flocks in the rest of the months of the year. So I was particularly interested in learning about how habitat influences flocking. So sorry, forest habitat. So you can see the top story is composed of larger trees with shorter stout trees and other plants, and the understory is composed of the understory understory vegetation of dense, different strata are important for different kinds of birds. So, for example, the stop canopy is usually used by those birds which prefer feeding for insects among these foliages or the twigs, like the white eyes or the cloudpeckers or minivets and so on. In the same way, the understory may be usually used by those birds who move about between these leaf litter and dense bushes looking for insects like the babblers or the fulvetas. So this kind of a habitat structural complexity within a habitat is very important for the mixed flocking structure and behavior. And in general, it is important for the sustenance of bird communities as well. So I wanted to see how the changes in the habitat structure would influence flocking behavior. That is how each of these individuals or each of these different species are modifying their foraging behavior according to the changes around them. So which is what I'm currently looking at right now for my PhD work as well. So I'm studying and comparing flocks of a natural forest habitat and comparing it with the flocks in the selected modified human landscapes, the coffee, cardamom, and tea plantations in Wayanad. So if you look at all the 4 habitats, you can see how entirely different each of these habitat types are. You can find a very thick, dense vegetation growth from top to bottom in a natural forest, and the tea plantations are open and barren, and the coffee and cardamom plantations lie somewhere between. So we know, we know the importance of natural forests in having the highest biodiversity and in terms of species richness and all that. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't mean that these modified landscapes do not support any bird activity or diversity. In fact, I've found enough, or sometimes even more number of mixed flocks in the coffee and cardamom plantations than in the natural forests. So there could be several reasons for this. If you look at it, the shaded coffee and cardamom plantations, their habitat more or less resembles the habitat of a natural intact forest. So these shade trees play an important role in providing a lot of foraging niches or micro habitats which supports the bird diversity in those kinds of habitats. Another is that since they are, human modified landscapes, degraded landscapes, the birds would be relying on mixed species flocks to get more foraging benefits in such habitats with lower quality. And also, if you look at the canopy also, the top canopy would be much less dense than when compared to a natural forest. So the more open the canopy is, it is more susceptible to the predators' detectability. Predators can see through easily. So that would also be an influencing factor on flocking in these habitats. But if that is the case, then if you look at tea plantation, they are degraded habitats. They are more open to the presence of predators. So naturally, we would expect. We would be thinking, why not? There's no mixed species flocking there. So definitely, out of the 4 habitats, tea plantation is the most degraded, and they support very low bird diversity and activity. So the probable reason here would be because of the habitat structure. The structural complexity which I've been talking about is completely absent in this tea plantation, because you can see just 1 or maybe 2 kinds of tree species which are spaced far apart, and just 1 kind of plant bushes in the understory. So what I'm trying to say is that it could be one factor or a combination of all these factors which influence flocking, and it influences the flocking behavior differently in different kinds of habitats. So right now I've completed just 1 year of my PhD fieldwork, and then the COVID situation came. So hopefully once everything settles down, I'm looking forward for observing any interesting observations, so that I can figure out what exactly is happening to the mixed species flocks in that region. Sorry, I can't seem to move on to the next slide. Let me just figure out. Okay. Hope the slide is visible. So moving on to the last session, that is why study mixed species frogs? Why are they so important? So recently, conservationists or ecologists have been trying to prioritize their conservation efforts and giving more importance to the conservation of ecological networks, that is species interaction networks, rather than just species specific conservation or conserving just the rare or threatened species. So I think what we do not realize right now is that it is the common species that we have now, which may turn rare or threatened in the near future if the threats they face or the current habitat degradation keeps on going on at this rate. So, uh, and if you take the case of a mixed species flock, um, it is characterized by high species participation. There are a lot of different kinds of birds who are participating in flocks. And among them, there are certain species which are more important for the flock formation and cohesion. So these species are called the nuclear or the leader species. And the other species, which are the birds which are dependent on the nuclear species, are generally called the attendant or following species. So these nuclear species may not be always, I mean, it's not necessary for the nuclear species to be some rare bird or an endemic bird. It could be just the common species that you see daily around you. It could be a bulbul, it could be a drongo, it could be a babbler. But it is on these common species that the survival of many other, maybe endemic or rare birds depend on. So when we focus our conservation onto this particular nuclear species, we can conserve the other members who are dependent on the nuclear species and thus conserve the whole system of mixed flocking. So when we are protecting the flocking system, what we're actually doing is that we're enhancing the ecosystem services that such high interactive species networks are providing to the habitats. And that would be in terms of extra insect control, um, seed dispersal, pollination, and prey predator balance, and so on. And thus, the habitat quality can also be protected or improved. That is one part. The next is that lately we've been having, we've been seeing studies and literature which shows us that these forest dwelling or the forest sensitive species, if they are found outside of forest, that is in the buffer areas or in the nearby plantations, they are most likely to be found within a mixed species flock, okay, rather than being seen alone. So what does that say? It actually indicates that mixed species flocks is an important strategy for birds to adapt to the changes around them and persist in their habitats. So in short, I mean, in this present scenario of habitat modification and conversion to agriculture and plantations, if we want birds or bird communities to persist in even in human altered habitats, this behavioral phenomenon of mixed species flocks is very, very crucial. Okay, so I know it is not right to anthropomorphize certain things that happens in nature, but at times to make people, certain people, especially the common people, aware and to make them understand how important such delicate interactions between animals are, it is okay to, I think it is okay sometimes to talk to them in a way that they can personally relate to. So just like how we need our family or friends as an extra support in our lives, these birds, especially the flocking birds, they need their friends and their interactions and relations with their friends to help them survive in nature. That is, if anything happens to any one of the bird, I mean, any one of their friends, it is definitely going to affect this highly interconnected friendship networks in some way or the other. So on this note, I think I would like to end my talk. Thank you so much, Madras Natural Society, for giving me this opportunity to talk here. Hope my presentation was okay. And I have a lot of people to thank, starting from my college professors, guides and mentors, seniors and colleagues for their support, without which I mean, nothing of this would be possible. Then I think I cannot end my talk without thanking my family, my mother and my three sisters and my brother, who have been the greatest support of all. They've been supporting me mentally, financially, and in all possible ways. I just cannot thank them enough. Then all my friends have been of constant support, backing me up during the good and bad times. And I would like to thank two of my very good friends, especially Nitin and Rajkumar, who have been, I mean, they are the main reason why I applied for the competition, and they kept pushing me to go for it, even when I myself had doubts about it. So thank you. Thank you, Vijay Kumar sir, once again for making me do this. It indeed feels great to talk about it. I'm actually a little, I tend to be nervous while giving presentations and talks, but that is why I find writing more comfortable. But thank you, sir, for making me do this.
No problem. Thank you very much, Karthika. That was wonderful, actually. Now, there are a lot of postings in the chat box, which I think you can also access and see. Everybody loved you, whatever you did.
Okay.
It was great. Actually, it was very, very interesting. It's not that you didn't sound nervous at all. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, very nice. Now, there are a few questions which are there, which I think you can take, and you could switch off your video so that you will be able to. Yeah. Sorry. Keep your video on.
Okay.
Keep the part so that you can. Yeah. So the questions are like there's a lot of people have congratulated you on winning the award and also said that it's a great presentation. So there you are.
Thank you
Now,
so much.
the very first question is: have you observed birds in mixed species flocks protecting each other's nests?
No, ma'am. In fact, I've not found that. That particular video of Fractal Drongo mimicking Crescent Serpent Eagle, it was closer towards the nest of the Drongo. So I've not found birds protecting each other's nests. Mostly during, I think the flocking behavior usually happens before the onset of the breeding season. And once they, during my master's field work, I found that once the Fractal Drongo started breeding, they weren't found to be participating in mixed species flocks for that period. So I've not observed such a behavior yet.
Thank you, Karthika. Thank you for answering the question.
But is that something that you would look out for now? You maybe.
Yeah.
So that.
Yeah. Look into it.
Why I asked that was that I had an occasion to observe black drongos sort of protecting a golden oreo's nest. They were both nesting in the same tree, and the black drongo was warding off crows and other predators who were trying to attack the more docile golden oriole. So I just curious to know whether you had also observed the same thing. Okay, thank you. I got your answer. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. No, especially because you said like we need our friends and family. I think, and you had said that the birds need their friends and family. So maybe this is something that they would be doing. So a good thing to watch out for. Yeah. So the next question is: does swarm intelligence, use sociality play a role in mixed hunting flocks? This is supposed to be thought to be working in sterling murmurations, fish schools, ants, etc.
I'm not very sure about it actually. I've not looked upon it specifically, and I think it would be playing a role, especially during the, on the onset of any predator attacks or something. I think so. I'm not really sure. I have the answer to that.
Okay, fine, no problem. Absolutely no problem. And there's another observation that says that racket-tailed drongos may be taking their reward through parasitism. Is that true?
Well,
maybe taking the rewards, yeah, through the racket-tailed drongos would be taking.
They are actually making use of this flocking behavior so that they get food much easier way. I've seen them continuously following the woodpeckers or nuthatches. Not just the ractail drongos, all the saling species like other drongo species, and sometimes woodpeckers and even bulbuls. They keep following them to forget about.
Okay. Mimicry in leaf birds serve the same purpose as in the drongos. Now, is mimicry by drongos more often within the mixed hunting party or outside the group? So there are two questions. So does vocal mimicry in leaf birds serve the same purpose as in the drongos? That's the first part of the question.
I've not read about leaf birds vocal mimicry so much. I'm pretty sure it will be serving the same purpose. But for ractyl drongos, there are studies which show that the mimicry, in general, the mimicry of birds are mostly done during their nesting period. So I think I've not observed mimicry when the ractyl drongo was in a mixed species flock, and there have been studies stating that it is the nesting time that is maybe it is because they want the young ones to be protected. Maybe that is why they're mimicking these raptors during the nesting time. And as for the leaf birds part, I think it will be serving the same purpose as in the drongos.
Okay, so there is an observation which related to that from Dr. Badri Narayanan, who will actually pose this question. They're saying that he's not sure whether Dr. Agnihotri has studied the vocal mimicry in both drongos and leaf birds. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Agnihotri.
Yes, Samira Agnihotri, ma'am. I had talked to her also during my initial master's work. So, she has done elaborate studies on ractyl drongo with vocal mimicry and said about how accurate their mimicking patterns are.
Okay.
I think I've missed out her papers on leaf birds, but
yeah, maybe you could check that. And then there's a second part to that other question: is mimicry by drongos more often within the mixed hunting party or outside the group?
Yeah, that's what I think I think I told that answer. Mimicry, especially the mimicry of raptors, happened more or less in the vicinity of the nest, at least as per the studies. And even from my personal observation, I said there was a nest of a drongo. And in mixed hunting parties, I've just observed these alarm calling. I've not found, do not see any vocal mimicry. But at times, and I think shikra sounds were made even while foraging within a flock, but it was just one observation, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Then there is a lot of observations about your work being excellent and your presentation being very good. There are also, people wishing you all the very best and requesting you to keep pursuing your passion. I think that is most important. All right. And then there is this question. I wonder if you've come across non-human democracies, Gagnon 2013, and I'm curious if it's applicable in mixed hunting parties, though this may be anthropomorphous. Yeah.
Sorry, sir, I couldn't follow.
The study is Non-Human Democracies by Gagnon 2013. And if it is applicable in mixed hunting parties, though this may be anthropomorphism. No? All right. Maybe you could look it up. Yeah. Okay. Now, there's this question. I wonder if the species that take part in mixed hunting parties can be considered more intelligent.
I don't know if there are scientific studies to prove that, but definitely they are having the higher benefit of, higher benefit when compared to a solitary living bird. Even if it is in terms of more benefits for getting more food or for the protection aspects, I think they are definitely having more advantages than a solitary bird.
Okay.
so they can be manipulated.
All right. Yeah, your guarded answer actually points out that you are the making of a true scientist. Unless you have the scientific data, sorry, I'm not taking chances and answering these questions. Anyway, that's very nice, Karthika. Thank you very, very much. I think the questions to you are, I think, done. Yeah. Everybody loved your talk. Everybody loved your explanations as well. And everybody wishes you only the very best and hopes that you will keep exploring and experimenting. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so, yeah. And so there is nothing else. Thank you, Karthika, very much. And thank you all very much. If you just wanted to tell you, there was this announcement that on the 15th of August, we would be having the first Right-to-Watch orientation workshop, which is going to be done by GK. So if all those of you who are interested, request you to kindly mail me in my personal mail ID gopvkumar58@gmail.com. So that's the next big thing that we can always we have to look forward to on August the 15th. So this would the timing alone, I'll revert back to you after checking with GK, but it will definitely be sure in the first half of the 15th of August. So thank you once again, Karthika, for joining us from Kannur, and thank you, your friends, the members of your family, your mother especially, who have all been there behind you, with you, and very happy that they are also present this morning during this function that we had. And thank you all very much for being here with us today and to celebrate this great award function along with Karthika, Chandran, her family and friends. Enjoy the rest of the day, all of you. Thank you once again.
Thank you
All
so
the
much.
best, Karthika.
Thank you very much, Vijay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Karthika. Bye bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tara.